Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Parks, Arts, and Community Services Commission meeting of Thursday, May 26th, 2022. It's good to see everybody here in person tonight, and some of our commissioners should be joining over Zoom. I call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Ashendorf. Would you be so kind to lead us?
Yes, thank you. Please stand if you are able. Put your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next order of business is roll call. Ms. Fatua.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Ashendorf.
Present.
Commissioner Glab.
Here.
Chair Rutherford.
Present.
Vice Chair Dorn Parker. Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Andrade Vallarta.
Here.
All right. We have Commissioner Murphy attending via phone and Vice Chair Dorn Parker absent.
Thank you, Ms. Fatua. And just to note that we hope Commissioner Dorn Parker can join us, but I know she may have some internet connectivity issues tonight. Next, we are going to open public comments. Then commission will have time, each member of the public will be given a total of 3 minutes to speak. First, we will take comments from anyone in the chambers, then those on Zoom. Members of the public in the chambers, now is the time to speak. I see nobody here. Ms. Fatua, is there anybody on the Zoom meeting who has their hand raised?
Yes, I do have one. Martha O'Meara, you may now speak.
Hi, my name is Martha O'Meara. I've lived in Costa Mesa for 102 years, really only 55. But I have a disabled daughter, and she happens to live in Irvine. And just recently, I realized how many services Irvine has that Costa Mesa has zero. They have, if you will look on Irvine City Disability Services, there's a whole booklet, and in the booklet, it has things like craft activities, dance activities, health and fitness activities, cooking, games, bingo, baseball game, and bowling. And we have nothing. If you look on our website, it says Project Independence and one other place. Project Independence is a private agency that you cannot go to their activities unless you belong to it. That's the only thing I found on our website. And I think that's really sad because we need services for disabled, and apparently it goes through the Parks and Recreation group. That's my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Ms. O'Meara.
Chair Rutherford, I would like to also make a comment that Vice Chair Dorn Parker entered the meeting at 6:05.
Wonderful. Welcome, Commissioner Dorn Parker. If anybody else, if anybody else is on Zoom and would like to make a public comment, please press *9 to raise your hand and *6 when prompted to begin speaking. Is there anybody else for public comment, Ms. Fatua?
I see no other hands raised, Chair Rutherford.
Awesome. We will now close public comment, and now we will open commissioner comments, limited to 3 minutes apiece. In no particular order, let's go ahead and start with, from the Great District 4, Commissioner Andrade Vallarta.
Thank you so much, Chair. No real comments, just a real shout out to the amazing Parks team. Fantastic I Love Costa Mesa Day. Unfortunately, I was not able to personally attend, but it was great to see all the great impact done. I got to visit a couple of the sites post-activity, so thank you so much for setting up a fantastic event, and look forward to next year's.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. I know that we're assembled here today for some really important business, and I guess I just have to acknowledge before we go into business as usual that as I was picking my daughter up from soccer and dropping her off at home before coming here, that there are many parents who will not be picking up their kid from soccer today. And I know that we are at the point where I'm almost numb to all of the mass shootings and school shootings. But as I'm sitting here thinking about the important business that we have to do ahead of us, which a lot of it supports children and families in our community, and which is very important, that it's also challenging to continue with business as usual. And I'm not sure that I have a suggestion. I work in an academic setting, and academics like to make a lot of statements and proclamations on websites. And I do think that that might be an important thing for us, something to consider if the PACS Commission wants to weigh in. I just had to personally acknowledge that it's a struggle to dive into some of this, even while it's very, very important business, just in recognition of those families who are impacted, and the recognition that there are so many families that will continue to be impacted. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Glab.
Yes. I attended the Spring Bark Bash that was on Saturday. I sincerely had a great time while I was there. I met several vendors. I watched the K9 unit perform. I saw a few dogs being rescued. So I just wanted to thank Director Mentor and the entire staff for the Parks and Rec of putting on such a great event. And it was well attended. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ashendorf.
Thank you, Chair Rutherford. First of all, I'd like to say that I attended the Mother's Day event at the Senior Center. It was our first big outing, if you will, with food and entertainment. And the Senior Center is getting ready now for 2 more events in June. One will be Father's Day celebration, and the next one will be Independence Day at the end of June. Also, I did attend Love Costa Mesa Day. We did painting. We walked to our own Moon Park and then rode on over to City Hall. And staff, you did an enormous job with Trellis, bringing hundreds of community members to our front lawn. It was so much fun to see everyone on our front lawn. It really was lovely. So thank you, and we look forward to Love Costa Mesa Day next year. Also, I wanted you to remind the public that they have a week from Friday, as far as I know, to get in their park and recreation posters. I've distributed 25, so I hope the department will be getting some of those in from my neighbors. Also, I'd like to share that there's an invitation that we've received from Trellis for the City Leaders Gathering. It's June 9th from 12 to 1:30 at the Crossing Church, and there they will be providing a free lunch from Fork, Knife, and Spoon while they give us an update on homeless issues in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Murphy.
Hi, Commissioner Rutherford. Sorry, I don't have any comments at the moment. Thank you.
And our Vice Chair, Dorn Parker.
Thank you. At this time, I will not have any public comments. Appreciate your patience. See if I can hang on with my Wi-Fi or my internet. Thank you.
No, thank you both for joining us tonight, despite technical difficulties. I just also wanted to make a quick comment. Commissioner Brown, I appreciate you saying what you said. the tragic events that unfolded this week are definitely on my mind as well. I think all of our minds. And as hard as it is to move forward past such tragedy, I just want to urge everybody. It's really not right what's happening, and so I think it's incumbent on all of us to speak out to our representatives at the federal level that should be taking action about this. I think it's incumbent on each and every one of us to encourage action on such a matter that impacts all of us and our kids. I also wanted to echo the thanks for the department on a series of awesome events. I know we were out public planting trees for Arbor Day. That was a lot of fun. So I appreciate everybody that came out for that. And also, as was already mentioned, the recent Bark Fest event was a huge success, and I think everybody had a great time at the event. So thank you to the city staff for continuing to press forward and all your amazing work. And we heard a comment about programming tonight from a member of the public. I think that's a worthy concern to have. It's worth mentioning that the city of Costa Mesa is hiring a lot of part-time positions in the Parks and Arts and Community Services Department. So if you know anybody, spread the word. It's if you're gonna work for $20 an hour, it's definitely better to work for the city of Costa Mesa out in our parks than at Del Taco, I would argue. So it's a great opportunity for anybody interested. So definitely spread the word, and maybe you can speak on that a little more, Director Mentor, as well.
We can address a couple of those things during the final report.
Thank you. Next order of business is approval of the minutes of the April 28th, 22 meeting. Are there any commissioner comments or a motion for the minutes?
Chair Rutherford?
Yes.
I would like to make note that I will need to hyperlink the correspondence that was received. It looks like it was not hyperlinked in the draft that we have. So we received 3 emails from the last meeting. So for public comment section, I'll just need to add them in.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Fatua. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment on the minutes from the previous meeting?
I'll just make a motion to approve.
Seeing none, I guess we'll just close public comment. Just wanted to make sure we do that. But there was a motion to approve from Commissioner Andrade Vallarta. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And seconded by Commissioner Glab. Ms. Fatua, would you call the roll?
Bear with me, I have to do it manually. One moment. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Chair Ashendorf? Yes. I'm sorry, Commissioner Ashendorf. Commissioner Glab?
Yes.
Chair Rutherford?
Yes.
Vice Chair Dorn Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Andrade Vallarta?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Fatua. Next on the agenda is new business. The only item of new business is review of the proposed capital improvement program, CIP, budget for the fiscal year 22 through 2023 through fiscal year 2026 through 2027. Should I hand it over to you at this point, Director Sethuraman? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Rutherford. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I'm Raja Sethuraman, Public Works Director for Costa Mesa, and I'll be assisted in this presentation by Director Minter, as well as Sung Yang, our city engineer, and our parks manager, Rob Ryan. With that, sorry, I said maintenance manager, Rob Ryan. So the CIP, it's a capital improvement program, is an important function for Public Works Department. And especially in developing of parks and park facilities, we work closely with Parks and Community Services Department too. The CIP is financed from multiple funding sources. We use state, federal, local funds. We try for grants wherever we can. And some of the projects are funded using funds that are very restricted. If you look at the whole CIP, you'll see funds like gas tax and Measure M2 and such funds. Those are restricted on public right-of-way only. We cannot use them in parks facilities. Usually the funds that are used in parks are the city general funds as well as park development funds. In addition to grants and whatever federal state funds we get. And often these projects involve multiple levels of coordination and oversight by other agencies too. And we work with other departments like City Attorney's Office and building and other departments in implementing these projects. For Costa Mesa, our threshold for something to be considered as a CIP is $30,000. So projects that are below $30,000 are grouped under building modification projects and are implemented in that way. So CIP, by definition, it's a multi-year program. Any project, you have seen some projects come to you in front of you. For example, Jackhammer Sports Complex. We started working on that project back in 2014, 2015 timeframe. And it takes time to go through design process. Then we refined the design. And then we went through consultant selection and design process. And on that project, we had some issues with pandemic and all that, and so it got delayed. But now it's getting completed. But as you can see, that project took multiple years to get done. Same thing with even smaller projects. We fund it, but then we go through design and then maybe construct the following year. So it usually 2 to 3 years time frame, but some could be longer. And as I mentioned, they go through distinct phases over multiple years, and these are listed here. So that's why it takes a longer time. So for the 2022-23 CIP, it's quite comprehensive and it's robust. The city council has established an ordinance called Capital Assets Needs Ordinance that requires that we budget about 5% of our revenues, general fund revenues towards capital improvements. And this year we're exceeding that 5% cap, which would be about $8 million. We're actually almost $11 million at this time. And we identified the projects on the capital improvement program based on city council priorities as identified in the goals and objectives. So when we go through multiple goals and objectives, discussion with the council, we get indications on projects to be funded. We hear from you, commissions, various committees, and community on project needs. We also talk to other departments on what's needed in their department, police department or finance and fire and everybody, so have their requests. And then we do our own assessment of infrastructure and facility needs. So all this goes into determining what should be in the CIP, and then it gets reviewed by our city manager and all the departments. And based on funding, projects are prioritized and are included in the CIP. As I mentioned, so for this fiscal year, for the upcoming fiscal year, 22-23, Our total CIP, proposed CIP is $25.3 million. And here are all the different funding sources. The top one is the general fund, capital improvement fund of over $11 million. You see gas tax, Measure M2, traffic impact fees, golf course improvement fund, which can be used specifically in the golf course, drainage fees, funds can be used only on storm drain projects, community development block grant. These are projects in specific areas of the community. AQMD, these are to improve air quality type of projects like charging stations or electric vehicle purchase and such. And when we have some grant funding, the grant funds that you have here is specifically, most of the money is for Fire Station 4 training tower. Here is a pie chart that shows the funding distribution among the 5 different categories that we have here. And as you can see, parks, parkways, and medians, and energy sustainability has about $3.5 million of the total. So in total, we have 42 projects that are on the list. And the list is in your attachment 1. And $25 million is the total CIP amount, and $11 million is coming from the general fund. So here is the list. It's a list of projects that's in your attachment, and it's a little hard to see, but you can see in your attachment all the 42 projects. And I just want to point out one thing. I mentioned park development funds, and you don't see it listed in this funding list. And that's because park development funds comes from development projects as they happen. And last year, we did not receive much funding, or this current fiscal year, we did not receive much funding from that program. And that's why we are not able to fund any parks projects using the park fees. But we hope that in the next upcoming fiscal year, we'll have a change in the overall situation with respect to that fund. With that, we'll go through some of the, I just want to point out, as I mentioned, we have, in addition to 22-23 projects, we have a lot of projects that are in the current fiscal year that are still in progress. And we'll quickly go over that and then talk about what's funded in the next year. With that, let me have Sung start off.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sethuraman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Vice Chair and honorable members of the PACS Commission. My name is Sung Yang, and I'm your city engineer. So the first project, which is an ongoing project for fiscal year 21-22, is the Jackhammer Sports Complex facility and improvements. As many of you are aware, the Jackhammer Sports Complex is a marquee sporting complex in which we have many events such as soccer events, football events, and also the Chargers training camp. So as a marquee facility, we're making some significant improvements. And as you can see from this aerial view of this PowerPoint presentation slide, we're building new storage buildings, which has recently been completed. The entryway in the middle there, we have for new parking facilities, new spaces for vehicles to park, and also new sidewalks as well. Also, as a part of this project, we have new landscaping, and also in addition to new landscaping, new fencing and other amenities. So I'll also hand it off to our Maintenance Services Manager, Mr. Rob Ryan. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Rutherford, Commissioners. My name is Rob Ryan. I am the Maintenance Services Division Manager, for those of you who don't know me. The next project up is the Tanninger Park Playground and Fitness Equipment Project. This project design was presented and approved by the Commission in October of 2021. And I'm pleased to announce that the project construction actually started this past Monday with demolition and the temporary fencing going up. So the design features a large single 2 to 12-year-old play structure. It offers children the opportunity to grow with the play area, offering age-appropriate features. It also has several items that help the imaginative process as children get to play underneath some of the play tree canopies that have birds in them that pay homage to the Upper Birds neighborhood, which I think was a nice touch in that design. The playground design has 4 swing seats, It's going to include an expression seat, which is the only eye-to-eye swing for parents and children. So it's kind of a cool face-to-face swing that parents can engage with their children. Some of the other key features include a 14-foot canopy shade, 3 slides, 2 of which are going to be double slides, 4 climbers that are designed to gradually increase the challenge as children grow with the playground equipment. And it also has 9 ground level and accessible features. And finally, the new fitness area will include over 16 different fitness features within the existing footprint. We're anticipating that project be completed by the end of June. Another exciting project going on at Tanninger Park is the construction of brand new pickleball courts. So this construction is scheduled to begin hopefully within the next couple of weeks. We did do some repairs to the existing surface that's already there. The project will convert the abandoned basketball court that is just east of the existing basketball court. It'll turn into 2 north-south facing pickleball courts. We're anticipating this project to be completed by early July. Next project is the Jordan Park Playground Improvement Project, which was also presented in October of 2021 and approved. That project should start immediately following completion of the Tanninger Park. So it's the same installation crew. As soon as they complete Tanninger Park, they'll be moving over to Jordan Park. This design included 2 separate play structures, one for 2 to 5-year-olds and another one for 5 to 12-year-olds. It focuses on a sensory and explorative play. It was space and science themed, which was pretty exciting. The 2 to 5 age-appropriate play system also promotes some gradual levels of climbing experiences, has a nice hex shade, 2 shadow play roofs that kids can play as the sun shines through these kind of butterfly ornamental objects that cast colors down on the ground. The 5 to 12-year-old structure is one that kind of serve as a piece of functional art and a monument, so to speak, within the playground. The tall shadow play helix, it'll be a landmark, I think, for the community for years to come. The system is also linked to a large spaceship climber with multiple paths to climb. There are several features that will allow users to access an 8-foot spiral slide. Some of the other features are several climbers designed to increase the challenge over time and use, the helix tower, as I mentioned, the rocket ship, of course, and there were 7 ADA accessible ground level components to that playground. Next project is the lighting at Schiffer Park. So this project will take the 10 existing pathway lights and replace them with energy efficient LED lighting. You can see the picture on the left. Those footings that are there are cracking, and the kind of telephone pole wood lighting will be replaced with new upgraded metal poles that should last us quite a while and improve the aesthetics and also be energy efficient with adding the LED lights. These are similar lights to what we have now at Taywinkle that were just put in within the last year, which is the picture on the right. That project is scheduled to begin within the next month and should be completed by the end of June as well. The next project is the Schiffer Park picnic shelter replacement. The existing structure become infested with rot and termites. It was getting to the point where that would need to come down for safety reasons. So the structure was taken down in March. I'm happy to announce that it has now been rebuilt and completed. As you can see in the picture, kind of the lower right, all the damaged wood has been replaced, fresh coat of paint to match. And we just completed this project, I believe, yesterday. So it looks fantastic. It's ready for reservations and for people to enjoy for birthday parties and whatever else you have.
Thank you, Rob. So the next project is the pedestrian bridges at Wilson Park and also Taywinkle Park. So design is underway to install new pedestrian bridges at Wilson Park, which is along Wilson Street, and also one bridge at Taywinkle Park. These bridges are iconic at both of these parks, and many of the users of these parks have enjoyed going across the bridges and overlooking scenic venues as well. Over the years, they've gone through a little bit of disrepair through weathering and frequent use. So the Public Services Department is embarking upon this design and construction of these new pedestrian bridges. So upon completion, these new pedestrian bridges will allow the public to enjoy better access and also increase their aesthetic value with these parks as well. Excellent. So I'll defer it to Mr. Setharaman.
Thank you, Sung. So the couple next projects are skate park and the lakes at Taywinkle. So there is a conceptual design for the expansion of the existing skate park at Taywinkle. As you know, it's a high demand skate park, very popular. So we want to expand it. And while we have a conceptual layout, we want to have some community outreach meetings to get feedback and proceed on the project. And we'll start that in the upcoming fiscal year. The lakes have serious issues with water seepage. We are losing water in the lakes. So this project will reconfigure the lakes, the circulation system. It'll create impervious vertical sides and a new impermeable soft bottom. We have a preliminary report that will come to commission in the upcoming month or two to talk about how, the existing conditions and what some of the ideas for this project are, and then we'll proceed forward on that. With that, we'll talk about the upcoming 22-23 projects. The first one is Brentwood Park improvements. As you know, Brentwood Park was acquired in the mid 2000s from Newport Mesa. So this project aims to revitalize the park and include some new amenities, replace the existing playground equipment, improve some of the landscaping, trees, add trees, walkways, and ancillary facilities. So we'll be having some outreach with the neighborhood to determine what exactly is needed. So just want to point out that this is not the master plan that was envisioned before, because that master plan would be, back then it was estimated to be $3 million. It would be a lot more to do that master plan at this point. This is to basically upgrade the park that's there right now to make it more usable for the community.
Thank you. So the next project is the Fairview Park Pump Station and Wetlands Restoration Project for upcoming fiscal year 22-23. As many of you are aware, that Fairview Park is an ecologically sensitive habitat. It requires preservation and protection. For this particular project, we want to implement improvements and upgrades to the Fairview Park Pump Station and Wetlands recirculation system. Recently, we replaced the valves at the Fairview Park Pump Station, and they're now functioning well now. But in addition to that, we also want to have improvements that include efficient water delivery systems, advanced computer and communication systems installed at the park's pump station facility that have communication wirelessly here at City Hall. And also these activities will thereby streamline efficient water delivery systems. Raja?
Yeah, thank you, Sang. Ketchum-Leibold, Director Minter, and if you want to talk about this one.
Thank you, Raja. Ketchum-Leibold, we had some community outreach that a couple of our commissioners were able to attend last year. Unfortunately, a grant that we had applied for through Prop 68 we did not get. There is some Prop 68 funding, per capita funding, that is being applied to this project. Currently working on the scope for an RFP for an architect to come in and design it. Once we get that architect in place, we'll be utilizing the commission to help spread the word with the community outreach, as well as hosting a couple of community meetings at the park like we did in the past. We are trying to combine this with a larger project more along the Victoria corridor to make sure that it's a kind of a contiguous look, and we can hopefully bring forward some of the passive recreation elements that the public asked for at the meeting.
So Shalimar Park is, as you know, it's a very compact park. And we are looking at an interim project. There are some ideas to look at some land acquisition and then expand the park in that way. But meanwhile, at this point, we'll have some outreach meetings with the community to see what can be done to the existing park. if there is if there are features to be added, for example, replace the playground, add some other features that will expand the park more towards the street side. Again, we'll have this outreach meetings to determine what can be done both in the short term and long term.
So the next project is entitled Playground Repairs and Replacement. And this is funding that's put in place for parks that aren't quite ready for capital improvement necessarily as a whole replacement, but just kind of outside the reach of what our normal maintenance budget would be. So allow us to go into specific parks and target areas that need a little bit more higher level repairs throughout the year. It'll replace missing rubber surfacing, damaged, worn out playground equipment. And the goal is to improve playground areas with the aim of enjoyment in a safe environment. The next project is Butterfly Gardens. The project is intended to convert existing landscape in order to attract migrating butterflies to those habitats. Staff will be working to identify a couple of possible locations and then implementing the changeover to turn those into butterfly gardens with hopefully some interactive components, maybe some art components, and some signage as well, some informational signage. The aim is to, again, install butterfly gardens at multiple locations in the city that will beautify the community and bring an aesthetic value to the surrounding neighborhoods.
Thank you, Rob. So the next project is the Park and Sidewalk Accessibility Program. This is an annual CIP project done yearly. And this is a maintenance project in which project provides for improved Americans with Disability Act or ADA compliant walkways, ramps, railings. It's basically the aim is to improve park access. For this particular project, staff looks for areas where cracked, raised, or buckled concrete and walkways are in need of replacement. And this is an effort to eliminate potential walking hazards for pedestrians. Next slide. And lastly, this is the project is the Parkway Media Improvement Program. Again, this is an annual CIP project. This project is to reconstruct damaged curbs, gutters, ramps, sidewalks, median islands, landscaping, etc., including irrigation for our city's medians and parkways. It's also to repair damaged areas within the public right-of-way, and that way to improve accessibility for our pedestrians and our residents, and for creating drought-tolerant landscaping, which includes California native plants and also state-of-the-art irrigation systems. So we'll defer that to Raja.
Thank you, Sang. With that, I just want to point out a couple of additional information. So in addition to our one-year CIP for 22-23, we also have a 5-year CIP that has projects for the next 5 years that are and one future year that are provided for you. It's in your attachment, I think attachment 2. And just to note that projects that are listed in years 2 to 5 are for planning purposes only, and we look for grant opportunities and we look for other feedback and move them forward for funding in the upcoming fiscal years. Here is a budget calendar. We have gone through a series of meetings, starting with the initial City Council presentation on April 26th. Today we are making presentation in front of you. We need your comments. We'll take those comments and incorporate them in our report to City Council. That will be in June, first meeting in June for their consideration. So with that, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer. And just want to point out our Fairview Parks Administrator, Kelly Dalton, is here for any questions on Fairview Park.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Mr. Yang, for that great presentation. At this time, we'll take commissioner comments commissioner questions, if there's any questions, and then we'll take public comments. Are there any commissioner questions?
Chair Rutherford, I do have Commissioner Dorn Parker raising her hand. I'm sorry, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Vice Chair Dorn Parker, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me see if I can get my internet's a little sketchy. One of my questions that I'm not sure is on there is integrated. There's these huge, I think, a significant challenge with dogs in the park off leash, and not a lot of infrastructure to support owners to safely and quite frankly clean up their mess. Is there anything in the CIP to begin to launch a more integration of more specific signage, these like pooping stations with trash cans? I understand it's just not a one-time investment, but it's ongoing to make sure that the trash is taken out and the bags are restored and the prices with that. So that's one of my main questions, is whether or not that's now going to be on the CIP, you know, an annual maintenance to review the parks, so that we can encourage better behavior. But at the same time, I think to encourage better behavior, we have to provide resources to our residents. So that's my question.
So, Vice Chair Don Parker, thank you for that question. Yeah, we will be, we have funding in our operating budget to refill the bags and maintain them. We'll be going through and making sure that the signs are all there and up to date with the signage. And if there are any missing, we'll make sure that they get added. So those are generally covered as part of our operating budget, not the capital budget. And we will, look at our park rangers and others too for help in the enforcing of those signs and especially the off-leash dog issue.
I guess my question is, many of the parks I go to, the sign is like no bikes, no smoking, no fires, no dogs off leash. So I don't know if there's any plans to make differential signs. And also, they're not all the parks that are now being used by dog owners since COVID have bags or have trash cans near the bags or signage around the bags. So is there a plan to go to all our beautiful parks and do an assessment of what's there, making sure that the equipment is actually installed? Or how can I help as a commissioner? Because I know some of the parks on the east side don't have bags or specific doggy trash or signs that are more direct to the users.
So Chair Don Parker, I think everyone can help. I think definitely as a commissioners, you can also assist us. We will be doing our own walkthrough. I'll have our parks, our maintenance manager talk about that as well.
Vice Chair Dorn Parker, this is Rob Ryan. Yes, as all of our parks currently have MUP dispensers, is what we call them, with signs, and they are currently inspected on a daily basis and stocked on a daily basis. Regards to a trash can in a close proximity, we can definitely review that. We try to strategically place those dispensers in places where there's a lot of turf, and sometimes placing a trash can right there is not good for the turf, but we can definitely do a walkthrough and review those areas again. And I know there's been talk also of a campaign to kind of public education campaign to make people aware of the leash laws and off-leash issues, as well as encouraging people to pick up after their pets.
Thank you. So if I find parks that don't have this equipment, what I'm hearing is there is resources in the budget to ensure that to ensure those resources are available. It sounds like parks. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. That's my main question on just clarifying the budget. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good response. Commissioner Ashendorf.
Thank you.
Yours.
In light of the comment that was made by Ms. O'Mara earlier on disability programs. I was looking at the Mesa Verde ADA compliance improvements, and it says sometime in the future, there's $550,000 in the budget for that. That's the library that's in my neighborhood. It has never been ADA compliant. You have to walk upstairs for the resource center and downstairs if you're a teen. And so I was curious to know if there was something more that can be done to ensure that we could address that.
Commissioner Ashendorf, yeah, the Mesa Verde Library does need upgrades. However, when we looked at all the needs that we have, it didn't make the list to be implemented at this time. So it's a future project, but we will continue to work with the library and see if there are any incremental improvements that can be done meanwhile. While we wait for a larger project. I know it needs a new roof, it needs other improvements too, so we'll be programming them.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions? Commissioner Vallarta, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I love, so excited to hear about all the great overview on what's going to take place in this budget. So thank you so much also for the thorough explanation on how this is all funded and the kind of the timeline of a lot of these projects. It's really helpful. So I had one question. So I'm looking at the Shalimar Park expansion. You mentioned in your overview that there's a meaningful amount in proposed for this, but I didn't see a number or a total for the land acquisition aspect of it. Is it? I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
So Commissioner Vallarta,
Want me to take that?
I just want to point out that if you look at the 5-year plan, there are some dollars associated with the future project. So there is some monies that are identified.
And those funds are kind of confirmed for the process, or how does?
So Commissioner Vallarta, the way it works is only the 22-23 is confirmed. Anything beyond that is more of a planning level document, and if something becomes available, I think council will make justification for that to move forward. With that, maybe Director Minter has more to say.
Thank you. When it comes to the land acquisition part of it, there are some things that need to be worked out, especially the purchase of property, if it's residential property or currently housed, where people are currently housed. So there's quite a few steps that would need to be, gone through in order to get that. And, with property values and purchases, we don't have an exact amount. So like Raja said, we're trying to make sure we get it started. We set aside money. We have it in our periphery as we move forward. Most likely it will be an outside funding source or another funding source that would be required in order to make that happen. I believe the $1 million that was listed on the project was only for construction, site prep, purchase of materials, equipment. That does not include any of the property purchase or the land acquisition.
Got it. So the funds that will be allocated for this year are for improvements in the current space, maybe, I guess, refresh. Does that include like refreshment of the playground and all that great stuff?
Some small improvements currently, but putting aside more money for larger improvements to come, hopefully.
Great. And then you also had a question, if you can share a little bit more about the timeline for Ketchum Libel, because it's great to see now. I know you guys we have already got great community insight, and you got some design ideas outlined. So, we'd love to hear more about what's that looking like.
So currently, as I mentioned, finishing up the scope to bring in a landscape architect. Once that RFP is released, we would get proposals from various architectural firms. We'd interview those firms, a team of myself, our public services team, perhaps somebody from the city manager's office also would review the proposals, select an architect, and then, we'd be able to hit the ground running in the design process. We do have some feedback that we'll be able to provide with the landscape architect at the start of the project, but we'll probably want to reopen, the discussion and make sure there is some community involvement, including a meeting before the PAX.
Awesome.
So timeline, I know we have a sunset on the grant. I forget what that timeline is off the top of my head, but I believe it's 2 years we have to have the project complete.
Fantastic. Awesome. That's exciting. Definitely look forward to the community engagement aspect of it for more feedback. I'm happy, again, this is one of the parks in my district, so I'm happy to support in any way possible. So please keep me in mind for that effort. And then, although outside of my district, Wilson Park is the closest park to where I live. So very exciting to see that the little bridges there are going to be improved because the kids do love it. I know my little one loves to explore and just walk around that rocky trail. Quite adventurous. So thank you for that. I just wanted to, add some comments. In the most recent city council meeting, I believe there was a constituent from that area that lives in the townhouses from that area. And, when thinking out of the box and opportunities for finding more green space, expanding the usage of our existing spaces. I know with Director Minter, we had a chat about, what about the use of the sand volleyball court? And I was so happy to hear that constituent mentioned nobody uses that volleyball court, which makes sense. Most you see volleyball or sand volleyball players, they're at the beach. So would there be an opportunity to maybe evaluate and the usage of that space, not only the volleyball court, but then there's at least a good 10 feet behind the volleyball court of just grass that could be maybe expanded, repurposed, really engage all ages. Because right now the playground is, for the littles, but it would be a great way to maybe add some sort of access to maybe engage our local youth. I think would be fantastic opportunity. So I just wanted to bring that forward as an opportunity. Not sure if it can be worked into this year's budget, but again, just hearing from the local community that the back space is not fully utilized, maybe maximize it.
So just, those amenities that we're not sure used or not, I think Rob and I both had experienced it, that they were doing some light improvements at Tanninger Park near the volleyball court and put some construction type material out there, some fencing, and I don't know, we got 6-7 calls, I think, in a couple of days of people saying, hey, we use this court. What are you doing? What are you doing? So, we can, put some signs up, we can, put some fencing around it and see if anybody complains. But it was a shock because I wasn't aware of people regularly using it. I had never seen them in any of my park visits, but sure enough, there were some people that were very vocal, and it wasn't all like one team, like it was many different people. So it's something we can definitely explore. It's not a huge area, but shaking up the amenities would be a good idea if it's a non-used amenity. Sure.
Yeah,
we
for
might
sure.
be able to do that on the operating budget side and not have to do it in the CIP, depending on the complexity of it, or if funding is available through a grant, then yeah, we need to put it through the CIP.
Yeah, again, that would be just thinking about ways of making it the parks more inclusive, and being that park is one of the ones that's really serving such a huge population on the west side. And I do appreciate also the bathrooms being open and fully functional. Again, I used to frequent that park with my little one on a stroller, and unfortunately our visits would be really short because they have a bladder the size of a peanut. So we would immediately have to leave once there was a potty emergency. So thank you so much for making that accessible. It'll allow really for parents and kids to use it more. And also, and I know in a separate walkability effort, there's going to be a crosswalk finally along Wilson Street to get to the park, because it really is a terrifying game of chicken to try to get, with a stroller and a baby in tow. So, so appreciate those improvements there. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I just want to say thank you for walking all of us through this. It's so hard. I can't see everybody at the same time. I just have a question. I'm just curious about to staff what your wish list would be. So thinking outside of the constraints of the budget, which is what you presented to us, I'm curious to hear, are there wish list items that are not a part of this? Or is everything represented here? Does that make sense?
Yes. So Commissioner Brown, yeah, I mean, most of these are the wishes of the community and the council and the commission. So our job is to carry out your wishes. So we want to make sure that we respond to what you have in mind. And we do definitely, where there is a need, we identify it and we make sure that it's addressed, especially if it's a safety issue, we take care of it.
And just to piggyback on that, the expansion of the skate park is a big deal. Like, I would love to see the skate park expand. You know, I know there's the design that Raja mentioned. We might be retooling it. That's something that both Monique and I have some experience doing in you know, for our previous jobs. So I want to take what I've learned in my experiences working with skate parks and her as well, and then work with our public services team to re-engage that whole design process and get the skaters involved and say, hey, what else can we do? So I think the projects we want to see are the ones that are going to have the greatest impact on our community. You know, unfortunately, I'm not a skateboarder, and I would dare not get on a skateboarder anymore. But some of the projects like Tanninger, the pickleball courts, I'm very excited that the city's finally going to do to accomplish that project. I'm not a pickleball player yet, but we're trying to slowly break ourselves into it. There's so many things that I want to do with my time. I would love to see a disc golf course or things like that, but some of it we just don't have the space for. So yeah, there are some wish list items, but we really do think that the ideas that are presented in the CIP budget are the ones that are going to have the most impact, and that's what we're looking to do. What has the community been asking for? And I think this does capture it, and I do appreciate the amount of general fund money that was put into our parks budget this year, which is normally not always the case. So, I thank Raja for that, and we do hope that this isn't it. We have some lines on other funds. We can't put it in the budget just yet because it's not completely agreed upon. But if we can get an additional influx of money specifically for park development, whether it be Fairview, Taywinkle, sports fields, we would bring that forward to the commission for your guys' review and blessing. But that would be other projects that are outside of the CIP that's been presented tonight.
Great question. Thank you. Are there any other Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple more comments. I wanted to acknowledge staff because just as we have unique districts in our city, what we're seeing with the park improvements are unique features, these themed features coming into our parks. And that's really exciting. I know Irvine has been known for the Adventure Park was here and the Castle Park was there. Now we can say we have a Lions Park and soon we can have the Space Park. So thank you for that. That is really exciting. I love the way we're shifting to identify our parks. I'd also like to let you know that I did visit Tanninger twice this week because I wanted to check up and see if it was really going to happen, as you said in your report, Director Minter. And so on both occasions, I wore my name badge and I was snooping around, and voila, when you saw the basketball court smoothed over, you knew there was something coming, and that was exciting. But when the fencing went around, it wasn't so much that the fencing was around. On each of the areas, you place specifically what's going to happen. And so while I was there, a couple of community members came by and they said, "This is exciting. This is what we wanted." They didn't even have to ask me what was happening, but it was a good way to ensure that the community sees what's finally happening out there. So I really wanted to share that that's really exciting, where the direction that this new department, this new city we have is really going in a good, strong positive direction. And one other comment about the butterfly gardens. I know you said that you hadn't identified yet locations for them, but I do hope that at some point in the conversation, we'll be able to include opportunities for the community to take ownership somehow in those butterfly gardens like they have in Huntington Beach and some other cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Great comments. Unless there's any more commissioner comments at this time, we'll take comments from members of the public. If there are any members of the public on Zoom that wish to comment, please use the raise hand option on your screen. And if you're joining the meeting on your phone and would like to speak, press *9 to raise your hand and *6 when prompted to begin speaking. Ms. Fatou, are there any members of the public to comment on Zoom?
Chair Rutherford, there are no attendees present.
Okay, that's easy. We'll close public comment at this time then. Director Sethuraman, I just have a few questions actually. Just starting with the current projects, the new ones, and then just some ideas for the future. But if I can ask about the ongoing Jackhammer project, could you provide any more detail about what's going on with the parking lot and the parking spaces and the status of the construction of those?
Yes, Chair Rutherford. So the parking lot is getting completed. We still have some asphalt work to be completed. After that, they have to do a fresh coat of slurry for the entire parking lot and then stripe it. So, but given the schedule of activities over the next week, we'll defer that to probably second week in June for that to be completed. You can see a lot of landscaping work going on. We have a lot of trees that are getting planted, a lot of shrubs getting planted. That will continue over the next couple of weeks, and that aspect of the work will be completed. And then there is some sidewalk, curb and gutter work that also will be finished in the next 2 weeks. We are hoping by mid-June that project will be complete. The storage buildings are almost done now. So we are in a good position right now. We're coordinating with chargers. We're coordinating with parks on upcoming activities. So we are making sure that everything can proceed while maintaining safe access.
I appreciate the update. I wanted to ask.
Can I chime in real quick, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, there is a tournament this weekend, a soccer tournament. So our team has been meeting with the contractor, the project manager, Hector. You know, Sung's been involved, Rob, Raja, we were all out there today. We're trying to make sure that the tournament this weekend has more parking than they're used to have like the last 4 months. But the big event, and I was going to mention it later, but the Pilot Cup starts a week from last Tuesday. So next Tuesday, that will be starting. And it's a great opportunity to bring back the Pilot Cup to Costa Mesa. I've never seen one before or been a part of one. You know, they were both shut down, or they were shut down from my time here. So, you know, we're trying to manage the timeline of the contractor and still have some clear space so we can get these tournaments in. As soon as the Pilot Cup tournament is over, which is June 5th is the final day, hopefully they can, you know, the contractor can get back there and out there and really go full force to get the project complete, as Raja said, by the middle of June. Containers to move, storage building to occupy. There's just a flurry of activity. You may not see it when you drive by, but you know, you stand out there, you compare day to day, and you can tell they're making progress. So we're very excited about that.
No, and I'm sure your team is doing great work on it, and I want to have the spirit of this comment be appreciative of the hard work that's going on. But I also want to ask, just because this is an issue we're seeing across the country, you know, in other, I don't think this has happened in Costa Mesa, but in other cities, there's ordinances that are being passed, you know, when there's renovations going on parking lots, a certain number of those parking spaces have the wiring under to be quote unquote EV ready, you know, ready for EV chargers. So I just was wondering if at any point during the process, if the parking lot tear up is ongoing or if it hasn't been completed yet, versus, you know, maybe having to tear up the parking lot 5 years or 10 years down the line, because, you know, we can see the trajectory of where that's going. So I'm just wondering if there's any opportunity, since the parking lot's being torn up right now, is there any opportunity to look at a level 2 charger, or at least the wiring for it, so so you don't have to tear that up again?
So Chair Rutherford, for this particular project, there's only small portions of our parking lot, especially the turnaround and the entry. Those are the only areas that are actually being torn up. Most of the parking lot are getting slurry sealed at this point. So it's not getting torn up where that kind of infrastructure can be put in at this time.
Gotcha.
But we'll be ready for it when we have a project to do charging stations. We can definitely implement that. That can be done.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Just on the new parks, I know this was already asked about, some question about Shalimar, but I think that's a wonderful project. I think the community there is in great need of more park space, so I just want to express my strong support for the Shalimar expansion. Is that enough funding to expand the park and to really add a meaningful amount of space for the neighborhood there?
So Chair Rutherford, the funding that's in the 5-year program, I think it is reasonable, but we will know more when we find out the amount of land acquisition and the size of the park that can be implemented at that time. So right now we have some planning level numbers in there, but a more focused analysis will be done when we have a more clear picture of what the final project will be. But the $1 million that we have is more than adequate for improving what the infrastructure we have at this time. The current park can be improved definitely within that budget.
Gotcha, thank you. I know it's not specifically in the parks part of the CIP, but I just couldn't resist commenting on the inclusion of the Costa Mesa Country Club project in the CIP budget. I don't know if you could speak to what your observed need for that project is, or comment on the need for that project and those renovations to happen at the country club.
So Chair Rutherford, there are multiple improvements that are needed at the country club. And so Director Mentor and I will be working with the operator there and also interested stakeholders to identify projects which include the cafe areas, the banquet facilities, and also on course, whether it's cart paths or bunkers. So we'll be going through identifying what's needed and making a list of what can be done every year.
Got it. So is that already baked then, the money that's allocated for 22 to 23 in terms of what it's going to be used for, the 350,000? Is that already baked in terms of what it's, the plans, or is it allocated and then the need will be assessed?
So right now it's allocated, but so it's we don't have a specific project that money is going for. It could be going towards design of many features, or it could be some focused improvements on some areas. So we'll be working on that early fiscal year.
Okay, thank you for the update on the country club. I was just curious to understand the need from staff's perspective. I just wanted to personally add a comment that, with the issues that our community is facing right now, especially with resources strapped for the services for childcare and family programming and that kind of stuff, it seemed, almost misplaced to include, such a large amount of money for, country club renovations to serve that population when there's such a great need right now for childcare programming, for investments in those kind of services for our community. As we did hear a public comment about that even tonight, that compared to some other cities, even our programming for children and families might be lacking. So I just wanted to comment that I don't know if there's any wiggle room or if this is already baked, but that would seem like a much more prudent use of funds given the need.
So Chair Rutherford, I just want to point out that the monies that are being allocated next fiscal year are coming from the golf course improvement fund. Those are monies that are specifically coming out of the golf course operations. A portion of it is earmarked for CIPs in the golf course property. So there is so there's limitations on where it can be used, and that's what is being purposed for this one. We're not using the city general fund for this one.
Got it. Thank you for that.
It's a fund that's specifically taken revenue from that the golf course brings in. We set aside a portion of it for improvements to the golf course. So, one of the ideas was to improve the banquet, or not the banquet facility, the restaurant, the bar, as those are revenue generating components of it. And if that money can go back to the golf course, it's a huge contributor to our general fund revenue. And so it's thinking big picture is you invest in the golf course facilities, the golf course can bring in more revenue. That general fund revenue can be spent on the programs of which you speak.
I appreciate that explanation. The only other comment I had was related to the Brentwood Park improvements, in the context of the need that Commissioner Dorn Parker shared about the issues that we're seeing in parks with dogs off leash and families complaining and kids, and we're only going to see more of those. There's more dogs in our parks and more kids in our parks at the same time. And so I don't know if there's any opportunity in Brentwood Park or park like Wilson Park, but when we're looking at improvements in these parks while you're already there, I don't know if this is a CIP or if it's not even big enough to be considered a CIP, but there's a demand for dog park space, and there's currently only one part of the city that's a fenced off dog park space. And we know there's been, an explosion of pet ownership over, the past few years, in the past decade. So I'm just really thinking about, is there any space we can utilize if there's projects already planned for a certain park? Could maybe a corner, a pocket of the park be fenced off to at least allow, and I know there's a lot of thought that would go into creating, I'm sure a lot of pet owners and a lot of people would want to have input on that, but I'm just thinking at a high level, there's a need for more space to be dedicated. I think that's an immediate thing we can do with the issue of all these pets in our parks, is at least let's try to create some designated spaces in more parts of the city so it's not just one part of the city. Director Minter and Raja.
So that would be in part a capital project request, of which right now there aren't any dog park requests included in this CIP. It's noted, your comments will be forwarded to the City Council, who will ultimately make the decision to approve it or not. If that's some of the interest in the commission to pursue those types of opportunities, we would be looking at needing capital project funds to build it and then maintenance funds to be able to maintain it. Rob oversees the contract for maintenance of Brightview. It is an extensive amount of maintenance to keep the turf up. That's one of the challenges that we're dealing with right now is the grass and keeping it alive and green and having a way to rotate sections of the dog park in order to keep grass there and regrow. So it's definitely a complex issue. And while I appreciate the thought, there would be a great deal of community outreach that we would need to go through before we brought something like that forward, because everybody wants a dog park. They just don't necessarily want it near them or in their park. So, that would be something that the commission could engage in and host community discussions about potential locations. It is going to be something that draws a lot of attention, most likely, but we can strategize. We've talked about parks like Geisler Park. It's over by the freeway. It's kind of sequestered from other areas. There are potential options, but when you look at the layout of the city, are we covering all quadrants or all districts, if you will? And that will go back to, okay, this discussion about dog parks, how many are we talking about? It's not a dog park at every park, but, would we space it out so that people could do that? I know there are parks not too far from the dog park that are still having dog off-leash issues, so I don't know that having a dog park will cure all of these concerns. But it's something the commission can happily, take on if you'd like to, staff to move in that direction.
Thank you for that comment. Did you want to add anything, Raja?
So, Mr. Chair, for issues like that, I think are best in. It has to be planned over time. I mean, we cannot pick a project or park and say, let's make a dog park and put a CIP. It has to be vetted through a process. And maybe the open space master plan or, some document like that can be used to decide how we want to proceed on that.
No, I appreciate the feedback on that. I'm just wondering if there's, with the current budget items like the extra funds for parkways and medians repairs or for the playground equipment repair, I don't know if there's any flexibility, or if when you look at the balance of the year as you near the end of the fiscal year and you look at the balance of the year and if there's any wiggle room at that point. But I'm just curious, it seemed like hopefully it wouldn't be such an intensive thing to look at that, maybe just start with one or two and see what the feedback and the response is. And you can take it from there based on a pilot case of, a small pilot case. But
Raja makes an excellent point, and hopefully most of you have either had your meetings with our open space master plan consultant or you're going to have them soon, because as Raja mentioned, it's something that takes time, and having that kind of feedback come from the community, and once the council sees that open space master plan, which hopefully we'll be presenting them this calendar year, that would be a great kickoff point to include something like that in future CIPs. Absolutely.
well, thank you for entertaining that. Sorry that I pressed that so long, but definitely an important issue for the community. Are there any other comments from yes, Commissioner Vallarta?
Yeah, I wanted to echo some of the comments made by Councilmember Chavez at the last meeting about opportunity of expanding green space on the west side. I understand that the city currently owns some property along Victoria, and I think he specifically alluded Victoria and Pomona, I believe, as an opportunity to expand in green space. So I wanted to know if that is, because we own some of that property, is that built in? I don't know if in the West Side Restoration Project, or is it part of the Butterfly Park opportunity? Could you maybe share a little bit more?
Yes, Commissioner Vallarta, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, we do have opportunities to consider improvements in that as part of actually 3 projects. Like you mentioned, West Side Restoration Project is one. We have the Parkway and medians. We have identified Victoria Corridor as one of the areas we want to improve, and also the Butterfly Gardens. So we'll be working with Parks and Community Services Department and also our maintenance manager in figuring out what can be done for the Victoria Corridor, and opportunities to improve that would be one of that. So it's already covered in the budget at this point.
Fantastic. That is great news. Again, because it's just a fantastic expansion of opportunities for green space on the west side. So thank you. And then lastly, I just want to also, I overlooked putting an appreciation for the improvements for Fairview Park. I'm super excited. Again, I'm a frequent user there. It's one of the largest parks near in my district, or nearby my district. So it's so beautiful to go back and see the greenery just flourishing. And I love that you guys also have been able to open some of the trails behind the shrimp pond. So thank you so much for all the great work that's happening there, because it's such a treasure that we have there. So I love the investment, the concerted effort in investing in this space. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no other comments and none from Zoom, I don't think.
Vice Chair Rutherford, I did see Commissioner Murphy have her hand raised. I just want to make sure
Oh,
she
yes.
did.
Please, thank
Did
you.
you have any comments, Commissioner Murphy? I do see your hand down now, but I just want to make sure. Looks like she doesn't want to speak, so her hand's.
All right, we're all good. Well, thank you again, Director Sethuraman, Mr. Yang, Mr. Minter, your whole team. Great presentation, and very excited to see this work moving forward. So I don't know if we have to make a motion at this time, but I would move that we move this forward to council.
Do we have a second? Oh,
I second that.
thank you.
Oh, she's got it first.
And could you call the roll, Ms. Fatua?
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashendorf,
Yes.
Commissioner Glab,
Yes.
Chair Rutherford.
Yes.
I do want to notate Vice Chair Dorn Parker did exit at 7:01. I believe it could be technical difficulties. And then Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrade Vallarta,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Ms. Fatua. The next item on our agenda is the Park Ranger report for April 22. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Or Director Mentor, did you have a comment about it?
Yeah, just the April commission, or the Park Ranger report for April is before you. I have been in discussions with the lieutenant that oversees the Park Ranger program. For those of you that are familiar with the police or law enforcement organizations, they typically do a change in leadership. They just did it within the last week, I believe. So we will have a new lieutenant overseeing the program. I've already had a conversation with him about, trying to get some more kind of outreach done to the commission. But, I'll give him a little bit of time to adjust or, to kind of transition in, and then we'll make sure that we get a presentation before the commission before too long. But if there are any questions in the report, I know last month the commission had talked about leash law violations. I don't think our police department wants to use a heavy hand in this and be out there citing. We are working with them with animal control. Events like the Spring Bark Bash are great opportunities for animal services committee members, commissioners to go out to the public and actually talk to dog owners. That's the type of outreach that you as commissioners can really do to support our wonderful park system. The maintenance services is to be out there, with your shiny new badges, your business cards, which are coming soon. We want to do it through education. I don't want to oversign our parks, but we do need to make sure signage is visible and present and legible. So there are steps that we are taking to improve those things, but we're trying to hold off on some of the more penalizing citation side, at least through the police department. But again, when I bring police department before, they can, speak on their own behalf. But with that, that's the Park Ranger report for April.
Thank you, Director Mentor. Are there any commissioner comments? I just wanted to add, Director Mentor, I think you have the right spirit with that, but I would hate for there to be any kind of public safety issue with a kid, a child or something getting hurt in our parks. So I don't know if the approach to enforcement is something that could be thought through more, or if there's any way to look at what other cities are doing, or how it's enforced in other cities, if there's any difference in the enforcement policy there or their citation structure. But that's just a thought. Are there any members of the public? Oh, there's nobody from the public here. So I think we can just receive and file the Park Ranger report if there's no further comments.
Well, I had a quick question. What is the misuse of a shopping cart at the park? I don't think I've noticed that one before.
I cannot speak to what all that means. I can make some guesses, but that would be a great follow-up question that we can share with our police department. Doesn't seem to be too frequent, so. Whew.
Do we have to make a motion on this?
No,
Okay.
so we can
Thank
move
you.
forward. Okay.
Yes, let's move on to the director's report. So Director Mentor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I do have to say that a lot of the things that I had planned to talk about have already been discussed as part of the CIP. That's one of my favorite parts, is the capital project updates. There are quite a few things in here. I think Monique's going to go over some and speak to some of the previously mentioned things. One of the things that I wanted to mention, kudos to Laura This is the first agenda for the PAX Commission that has shifted to a brand new software system. It's the Legistar system that City Council and Planning Commission use. So if you are looking for our agendas, they're going to have a slightly different format. That's because of the conversion to the Legistar. So thank you to Laura and then our clerk's office for, all the training necessary to get it through. The Legistar process for council items, it's still something that, we're getting used to. It's a little bit easier on the commission side because there's not as many layers of approvals, but it is something that Laura spent a lot of time, getting ready. A couple other things to talk about. I mentioned the open space master plan. That is stakeholder interviews is what they're scheduling now with commission, with council, with some of the other organizations, our youth sports organizations. Our partner organizations like Vanguard University is invited, and OCC, and SOY, and those types of nonprofits. So we're excited to see that continuing. The Fairview Park Master Plan, by the way, that's something that Kelly and his staff are working on. We're very excited about that. They've had a couple of working group meetings to talk about the Fairview Park Master Plan update. That is something that will go before the Fairview Park Steering Committee at their next meeting in June. If we can get that scope approved, get the RFP released in June, and hopefully have a consultant in by fall to really start evaluating the Fairview Park Master Plan. I know that's the primary goal of the Fairview Park Steering Committee, but at some point it will come before the Parks Commission as well. There is a Parks project. It was mentioned, I believe, by Commissioner Ashendorf. So we're excited to have that out and about. And I believe I've mentioned it before, but if I haven't, or if you have forgotten, in California Parks and Recreation Society, they have July is Parks and Recreation Month. It's a proclamation that we typically do every July where we highlight, the value of parks in our community. This year, we're trying to ramp it up a little bit. Not because Public Services just got their recognition at the last meeting, but because July is Parks and Rec Month, we have this Parks project, park poster project, and we're also going to be encouraging you as commissioners to show up to the July 19th meeting for the recognition of July as Parks and Recreation Month. Not a lot needed other than your presence at the meeting, but staff are definitely working on some things to make an impact on parks. July is Parks and Rec Month. Let's see, I think all of the updates were covered except for the Downtown Aquatic Center. It's such a beautiful thing to see a brand new pool with brand new plaster. There's a couple other things that we're working with Kevin in terms of tidying up, but going out there and looking at the pool, it definitely looked a lot bigger when it was empty, but now that it's filled, the plaster has to cure. Once the plaster is sufficiently cured, we can turn on the heaters again. Once we have all the systems checked, we'll be able to reopen the pool. You can see mid-June is when we hope to have everything up and running again. I believe those dates have been posted online and in the guide as well. He mentioned Tanninger, he mentioned Jordan, like all these fun things. The Norma Herzog Center, there's also improvements to the patio at the Norma Herzog Center. I was just at the center on Tuesday for SOY, did their senior, and by senior, it's high school senior, not senior citizen, but their high school senior awards. That was a very nice ceremony and just impressive what SOY is doing. They handed out over $200,000 worth of grants to graduating high school seniors. Unfortunately, the patio is still closed for the renovation and probably won't be done also till about mid-June. But a lot of really cool things that are finishing up right now. We're very excited about that. I'm going to put a little teaser out there before I turn it over to Monique. And staff have been working really hard on the recreation guide and trying to give it kind of a new focus, we shine a little light on it in a slightly different manner. So that's your teaser. We'll bring more of a formal announcement to our next meeting. But the recreation guide has been around quite a while. I think when it first started, it was the recreation review. But Monique and I and all of our staff, we think we can do better than that. And we're trying to work on a plan to really revitalize that guide, make it so the public knows about it. They're looking for it. They're hunting in their mailbox so they can get it. So that is the teaser. And with that, I'll turn it over to Monique.
I see Commissioner Ashendorf really excited about that. I want to start off by thanking Commissioner Brown about mentioning the tragedy. I know it is hard to conduct business as usual and to get things done with such a heavy heart and heavy tragedy that's happened, you know, especially when you think about having kids yourself, myself included, or doing youth programs as our profession. It's very hard to think about, so I just like to appreciate your comments before the meeting. With that being said, I'll go into touching base on the pool project that Director Minter was talking about. Our staff did get into the pool for the first time today. Granted, it's not heated, but they had to do some marketing for summer programming, so they got into it about 68 degrees today, so depending on which lifeguard you asked, it was either freezing or it was no big deal. So, but they are doing some marketing for our summer programming, which will be starting in mid-June. So that's going to be a fun time and a fun to see swimming come back in this new plaster and this new pool. Just really revitalized the programming there. Touching on animal care services, you know, I'll go through some of the things in this report, but I just want to highlight some things that I feel like need to be expanded on more of our programming that may not get as much emphasis. And since we did just have the Spring Bark Bash, which was a very successful event, we really want to ramp up some of our event programming geared towards animals, as has been mentioned, that more people are becoming pet owners. So we want to get more resources out there. So just, if you don't know, we do oversee animal care services as part of our department, and that includes overseeing the contract for our shelter and our adoption services. We are a unique city in the fact that we have two different contracts to do two different things, where most cities contract with one agency or organization to do both. And the reason why we do this is because we emphasize trying to be a no-kill city, a no-kill shelter, and so that's why we really sought out the best contracts to be able to do this. And so our staff on a weekly basis supervises transfers from our shelter to our nonprofit organization for adoption services. So it's quite a task to oversee animals that come in every day, every week, and to supervise a transfer. And not only that, they also process hundreds of pet licenses every week, every month. So just they do a good job of, that's their day-to-day on top of planning these really great events. We are talking about kind of campaigns to talk about leashes. I come from another city that had a dogs off leash problem, and I think this problem is, you'll find it in almost every city and every park, especially in Orange County. So we will try to increase our marketing campaigns to encourage people to keep your dogs on leashes, but I can tell you right now, we'll never completely eradicate the problem, because it is a problem in almost every city, but we will continue to expand the campaign there. Touching really quickly on arts in Costa Mesa, with hiring, I know I will talk about Laurette Garner. She's our art specialist, but we really are trying to make ourselves the city of the arts. So she has a lot of projects ahead of her. Charlene has taken, Commissioner Ashendorf has taken the lead on touching base on a lot of things that we do in the arts and events in general. So, you know, my job is done there, but she is going steadfast on a lot of art projects. Stay tuned for more on Art Venture, which is a very popular event here in the city. So trying to work out some details on that. So stay tuned for that. I talked about the pool. You guys had mentioned I Heart Costa Mesa Day. Thank you for the kudos, but we really have to give kudos for that event to the planning of it, to our city manager's office, events team, working with Trellis, but also the public works team here and all their staff, because they help come up with a ton of projects and dedicate a lot of maintenance staff to helping organize those projects around the city, especially the city projects. So I just want to say, you know, I don't want to leave those out. We don't want to take credit too much as a department, because it really is a citywide effort. And but thank you for everybody participating and all the gratitude and thanks for that. We are ramping up for the summer. Summer's a busy season for us, so we'll have plenty of events and programs coming up. We are beginning to take block party permits for the 4th of July event for street closures. If you have anybody that's interested in having a block party and having a street closure, to contact our department or go on the city website for applications. Any questions or concerns, they can always call. Ms. Fatua is leading the charge on that and the staff that she oversees. So that's something new that we took over in 2021 as a department as well. So last but not least, I want to touch on the disability programming that we have in the city. It is one of the things that when I came on board that recognized that we can promote a little bit better. I come from a former agency where I looked into this and we started expanding upon this as well. Just a few little notes here and there. Park playgrounds, you don't always hear about it, but there are always some ADA components. If you haven't heard of Angel's Playground here in Taywinkle Park, it's a UAP or a universally accessible playground. So somebody in a wheelchair can come up and play in the playground. And that's, you know, when you look about playground renovations and replacing sand playgrounds with hard surfaces, that's all inclusive so that somebody can come up and play in the playground who may not have been able to roll on sand. So there's that aspect of our playgrounds in the parks that always gets considered when we're doing playground renovations. On the programming front, cities, there is always a hard aspect to program for disability services because it's a very niche. It takes special people and special programs to be work with that population. And so what we do is we partner with a lot of different agencies, and whether that's a little league that has a special team, like a challenger team, they call it in little leagues, or Studio D over at Segerstrom. So we have all those partnerships and playgrounds, and so we're gonna be looking to publicize and market some of those programs better in our new guide that we're trying to look at. So we do currently have some of those partnerships in place, but we're just going to do a better job of promoting them and expanding them in the future. So, and with that, that's my report.
There was one thing I wanted to touch on, back to Fairview Park. Again, as commissioners, you know, we encourage you to join in and participate and be a part of different events that are happening. Second Saturday Restoration at Fairview Park is one thing it's co-sponsored by the Fairview Park Alliance. It's a great opportunity for commissioners to go out. Maybe you'll do a little bit of work, you know, so dress casual. But while you're working, it's, you know, a great way to interact with different members of the public. Our Fairview Park, we have brought in some part-time staff to assist Kelly in all of the things that he's working on, including the master plan. There's still some flying field stuff that's up that needs to get handled. Sung mentioned that the pump station and a lot of the things that are happening at the wetlands. So I just didn't want to leave out a Fairview Park update. I thought maybe I'd get Kelly to come up and talk, but he is preparing for a trip. So I think that covers it. If any of the commissioners have any questions, both Monique and I are here to answer them.
Well, thank you both so much. I think you're doing an amazing job for the department. So I think that's never worth saying enough.
And that calendar, the upcoming events, please make sure that you take a snapshot of that. You know, the Independence Day celebration is definitely first and foremost July 3rd over at the fairgrounds. It's getting a lot of the attention right now. Fish Fry, I have to give a shout out to Kevin Stoddard, our recreation supervisor, who has taken lead on that. I can't even tell you how many hours that he's put in working with the Lions, working with various departments. So if you do have a chance, head out to the Fish Fry, June 3rd to 5th. It's 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., I believe, on the Friday. And then like 10 p.m. or 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. It's a long-standing tradition that I've never had a chance to be a part of. So I'm going to get to have my first fried fish and Ferris wheel ride, or I don't know if I want to do those things on the same night. But there's, you know, those events coming up. I mentioned the Pilot Cup, so we're very excited about that. A full complement of movies in the park this summer. The concerts in the summer that are going to take place on July 12th, July 19th, and July 26th. So yeah, definitely a lot of fun stuff that's happening, and we are excited about the summer, and July is Parks and Rec Month.
What's the hashtag for Parks and Rec Month? that we're all supposed to use.
It's Parks Make Life Better, for sure. Are hashtags still a thing? Are they still doing hashtags? Oh, okay. I don't know. I haven't heard that expression in a while.
No, because then if I click one hashtag, then I can see everybody's post. But maybe you can think about that and get back to us and let us know.
The Parks Make Life Better hashtag is a national hashtag that everybody uses during the month of July in all cities
okay.
across the nation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Thank you for educating us on that. Are there any questions?
I guess I just had one about the disability services. I haven't had a chance to look at our website, so that's what I'm going to go home and do. But what's your sense of our website and how representative it is in terms of sharing some of the things that you shared here?
I haven't seen that section, but definitely our website is going through some redesign from a lot of our pages. I know Ms. Fatua doesn't like to take any credit, but she's helped a lot in redoing some of our pages just to make the information more easily seen or out there. So that's going to be part of the marketing. When I say like we're going to have probably a page dedicated in our guide to it. Sometimes it's been hard to find, but we want to make it more easily found. So definitely that would be part of the process of getting the word out there.
Yes. Director Minter, when you mentioned the master plan process and the stakeholder interviews, did you state that the Newport Mesa Unified School District was included in that process?
I did not, but they are.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Villasenor, because our numbers are older than we are, I'm looking at the teen camp, and right now the enrollment is low. So I'm assuming for the summer that program is ramping up and those numbers are filling up.
Yes, we just opened up summer registration, so it's just getting started. So sometimes we have parents that don't think about it until their kids are actually out of school. They're the ones that want to pre-plan, that are waiting at 8 a.m. on the day of to click that register button, and then some won't be reminded of it until they're out of school. The teen population is a harder population to get to register. Sometimes, it's just that age range. But yes, it's a lower number than what it will end up being once the programs start.
Great. And one last question on park reservations. The numbers for April, I have nothing to compare that to. Does it indicate that we are seeing reservations now at our park sites for use of the canopies and the barbecues and parties and that kinds of things?
Yes, our park shelter reservations are very popular.
Good.
So there's probably not a day that goes by that we don't handle. I would say roughly on an estimate at least five a day of somebody coming into our front desk wanting to reserve a shelter.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure that if anybody out in the universe was listening, they would know that those facilities are there and should get their reservations in. Thank you.
Yes.
I did have a follow-up to Commissioner Brown on just accessibility of all the great programming and activities and fun events that are out there. I went to my daughter's school at College Park and just inquired, how do we get information available to just the local school community or the PTA or any way to get it out? And her response was, you go to the folder on the district site, and then you click on that folder, and you go to the other folder, and then go to the other folder, and then there it is. And I describe it that way because that's exactly what I heard, right? It immediately, as the words came out of her mouth. So I appreciate to hear that, we're making some improvements to the website so that it is more visible, because again, I feel you guys do such a fantastic job in making all these fantastic events. So finding a way and improving the communication campaign that you alluded to earlier, and just making it more accessible and visible to the community, so you have these greater turnouts for the great events and the work that you're doing. So just again, an opportunity to get the word out to the community. And again, happy to support, be an extension of your team. And I don't know what if it means go to the local schools, talk to the local PTAs, because again, you guys do such great work. So it's a missed opportunity to having just more of the community participate.
If there aren't any other questions, I just want to make sure it's kind of a timely thing. We have our public service team, our public services team here, but we can't do most of what we do, if not all of what we do, without them taking care of the parks and maintaining our facilities. Rob, Sung, Raja, the team, Daniel, there's so many people in public services that really allow us to do what we do. So thank you to them, and I'm glad that they were able to be here and present the CIP and share their knowledge with you. So thank you for being here.
I'll echo that. Thanks. You guys are appreciated. Thank you. Just two last quick questions. This question is for actually everybody in the room, so nobody leave yet. Has everybody voted yet? Who has not voted? Everybody? So nobody in this room has not. Commissioner Brown has not voted yet.
I have not voted yet either, sorry.
Director Mentor has not voted yet. Anybody else has not voted?
May.
Waiting for, okay, that's okay. As long as you have a plan. If you haven't voted yet, but you have your plan to vote, you're good to go.
We have a polling place at Lions Park that actually happens to coincide with the fish fry. So if you haven't voted yet, come to the fish fry and just get there early enough while the polling place is still open, and you can cast your vote while eating fish.
There's a ballot box there, correct?
It's actually the NHCC. The Herzog Center is a polling place. It's a 4-day, I believe, a 4-day polling place that coincides with the 3 dates of it wasn't well planned necessarily, but it might get voters to come and either partake in the beer garden or the rides or the activities, or it'll get some of the people going to the fish fry to, oh, hey, while I'm here, I might as well vote.
I'll have to ask somebody about the free speech zone for that, but and then I know I sent an email about this, but it's just worth saying, as I was walking along and I was past the Del Taco and I saw the banner that Del Taco was hiring at $16 to $21 an hour, I just thought it would be a shame if somebody worked at Del Taco for that when they could work for the great city of Costa Mesa at the same rate. So I don't know if banners are in the works or even just, a few bucks on social media ads, I think would do a lot of good to spread the word about that opportunity for kids.
I did just attend a directors consortium, if you will. Orange County Parks and Rec directors will get together quarterly. It happened to be today. And one of the concerns shared by all departments, throughout Orange County, at least as represented there, is still challenging staff issues. Aquatics, probably first and foremost, but, across the board, we're still having trouble. I think that the steps we made in increasing the range rates was great. We still have the opportunity to bring people in above first step. But yeah, I think there's, I heard some interesting ideas today that we'll be talking over with staff to see if that's something that we can implement. Definitely, people are doing some out of the box thinking in terms of trying to recruit, but it's a challenge that's shared throughout Orange County.
I had a follow-up. Could you elaborate? What's the first step? Bring them in that first step, you said.
First step for a rec leader or community services leader, one is $15.50.
Yeah. Awesome. Because just piggybacking off of the chair, we're entrusting these camp leaders with our most prized possession, right? For an extended amount of time during the ROCKS program, the summer camp, which, by the way, I'm one of those parents that already signed up, so thank you. For the whole summer, so thank you. The opportunity to increase that rate. I know the College Park camp leaders are at $15 an hour. And again, they have, I think what we have here, 40 kids. They're responsible for 40 tiny human lives. So thank you so much for continuing the consideration. And I don't know if there's a budgeting consideration to pay in a meaningful amount so that we don't compete so hard with Del Taco. And then also, I wonder if in some of these great ideas on recruiting, is there an opportunity to go to, high schools and talk to senior classes? What are you doing in the summer? Come work for the city, or go to the community college. We got OCC just down the road. I'm sure some eager college student is eager for a couple of bucks or a side job, side gig in support of the initiative. Is something like that kind of built in the recruitment efforts?
We do work with OCC, with Vanguard. Our HR department does use those channels. And additionally, getting staff to go to the forming high school campuses, it's an option. We do work with usually their counseling offices to try to get the word out, but sometimes it's about timing and striking at the right place. Do we have another job fair type thing scheduled?
We don't. We have our flyer, and we now have, it's like published, and if you see our summer rec guide, that's out. It's in the back page there. We do have banners up. We put it on our social media. We do go to the high schools, especially to recruit for aquatics. We'll go and talk to the swim coaches because aquatics and lifeguards, especially during the summer, are the toughest to get. I don't know if you know this, but the Wild Rivers theme park is coming back to the Great Park area in Irvine. A theme park like that will require probably roughly at least 300 lifeguards to operate. And so that's going to draw from Orange County. So, we're really getting creative with how we find that. And that's, that could be offering a step 2, starting pay, step 3. And we also try to advertise our benefits. We typically don't work holidays, weekends, if they're working, we try to flex the perks and the benefits, especially when I recruit I said, it looks really good on your resume. We give really good letters of references, and especially to high school seniors. If you're applying to a college, it looks really good when you're applying to college. You can incorporate it into your essays, for applications, everything like that. So we try to emphasize all those benefits of working for a city government and the experience you're going to get and what kind of doors it could open.
So one final comment, I did want to commend our chair on running his first commission meeting officially. He did a very seamless job. You're a seasoned pro, and well done. Made the transition seamless.
Teamwork makes the dream work, so thank you all. I just wanted to add as well, I know we're all ready to get home, so let's all get home, but just on the thought of advertising, something I specialize in is social media advertising. So, Facebook's algorithm, you can pick the audience of parents and you can pick which age, like parents with kids in this age range, and then it's only going to show it to them. So I don't know if that's already been done yet, but I'll sidebar with those kind of things about you all, and we can talk further. But unless there's no further comments, I think we should adjourn our commission meeting at 7:53 p.m. And our next regular meeting is at June 23rd, 22nd at 6 p.m. And we'll see each other all again then. Thank you.